All right, guys, good morning. A few updates for you. The new Palafox bids were due this past Friday morning, and we're open Friday afternoon. I know there's been some, obviously that was a public event, so some discussion. Understand, like with any bid, especially these larger bids, this magnitude, we've got to have some vetting that takes place. So anything you're reading on social media that we've picked anything is not only not true, but certainly we have things that we have to do first. For example, the engineer record needs to look at the bids, those types of things. So that process should be quick. As you guys know, we're on a very quick timeline in terms of getting new Palafox. Obviously, the price points off the cuff are within the stratosphere. There still would be work that need to be done to and work with CRA and or council on how to fund a smaller delta, but again, I'll have more information for you and more clarity for you next week as it pertains to exactly which direction we're going to go, what bid we're going to go with, and allow that process, the procurement process, to play itself out as it always does. Second, I know we had some questions about the shutdown and its impact. Ironically, I'm going to the airport ribbon cutting, and then I'm bringing my bag and flying to Washington, D.C. for a day. So we'll be at the White House with America First Policy Institute, the Mayor's Council there. Those meetings are taking place, and I believe what I've heard is that any meetings that had been scheduled prior to the shutdown are taking place, but there aren't any new meetings happening. So I guess I'll learn as much as I possibly can about how that's impacting us. I'll be up there with several other mayors around the country. I would say obviously two of the biggest areas that we're monitoring as it pertains to the shutdown is our housing department and at the airport. And obviously so far you've probably seen reports nationally about potential delays. We have not experienced that at Pensacola International with TSA security or anything like that, but we of course are monitoring that, and we always tell our residents to check with their specific carriers about any delays because of equipment coming from airports potentially that might have other issues. So right now, good to go so far, but we are monitoring that. And then, of course, on the housing side, we're doing what we can to ensure that the residents who rely on federal housing help can remain in place. So nothing specific there, but again, considering the fact of the federal dollars that we handle and manage in our housing department, we're going to be keeping an eye on that and what the impacts are. The sooner the better, of course, to have this shutdown over with, and we'll see what happens. Update on the PPD chief search. You guys saw that job is posted. It closes this Friday. Last check, there was 84 applications, and we're working with what next steps would look like. So we're working in our office. We'll get to you as soon as we have kind of the full finalist interview plan. This job in particular obviously is not, it's an understatement to say it's front facing. This is the number one concern of every citizen in our city is public safety, and so having the balance of being able to have good interviews to vet finalists as well as some public interaction we think is going to be important. What that public interaction is what we're working through specifically. And so I really look at the traditional interview process and allowing that to be what it is. Second, I think some specific community groups, certain sectors, whether it be former law enforcement, whether it be the minority community, whether it be the business community, allowing finalists to perhaps have some interactions with groups like that. And then third, and maybe concurrent with one or number two, would be something public facing that again, at a minimum, allow the citizens to be involved in hearing what these finalists have to say. So working on details on that, and again, as soon as we've got something in place for that process, we'll get that to you. We had questions about the VMP bathroom. The RFP is out now. It closes on October 30th. And we're scheduled to shortlist firms on November 13th, presentations December 4th, and then that will be the structure, as you guys know, to house restroom facilities as well as a educational area and a storage area. So that is moving forward. Lots of public engagement coming up this month. You guys are aware of Hollis T. Williams on Tuesday, October 21st, is going to be really an unveiling of kind of the overall vision. It won't yet outline. The next phase of this would be outlining what will take place in terms of what will be constructed in phase one. But the model that you see out here outside this building, that's kind of the larger scale vision, and that is what's going to be unveiled after about 30 community meetings that have taken place so far. So all of the design team will be in town, everybody involved will be in town to have this kind of public unveiling of the vision of the project. And then we get to work on what phase one looks like. Here's how much money we have, here's what we can and can't do in phase one. And so obviously internally that process, those conversations have already started about, here's how much money we have and what do we think we can get done. But that will become more of a public conversation following that unveiling. So again, Tuesday, October 21st, 6:30 at the Cobb Center is the Hollis T. Williams. And then the next night is the Bay Bluffs Park session, Wednesday, October 22nd at 6:30 at Vickery. And there is also an online form on our Parks and Rec page. If you can't make it and you got a big idea for Bay Bluffs Park, you can get on our Parks and Rec page right now and be able to still share that even if you can't be there. And then lastly, certainly looking forward to, I've got my flag up on the 7th floor, the FSU baseball game on Saturday, 1 o'clock against Mississippi State. And if you recall, the Auburn game, of course, sold out in minutes and was the largest crowd to ever watch a baseball game at the stadium. And I think this one slacked behind last year that it sold out in like 4 hours instead of a couple of minutes. But it will be sold out, big crowd. Looks like we might have some good weather, so looking forward to hosting those two teams and those two fan bases. So that is everything I've got, and happy to take your questions.
Mayor, regarding the street construction, can you give us any update? Because we did a story last night about some of the businesses, upset still, but that's typical,
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll see a lot of mayors on Tuesday. If they have any advice on how to do a $10 million construction project with no inconvenience, I will happily take that advice. With good things, I mean, there's lots of construction that's happened in this city in the last 10 years that we brag about has changed the dynamic of the city. But I can also guarantee you when the stadium got built, when other buildings downtown are getting built, they're going to cause inconvenience. And what I can also tell you is we have not prepared more mindfully about how we help businesses than the project that we're talking about. I mean, from free parking on the side streets to thousands of dollars invested in marketing, partnered with DIB, the city as well. We have tried to think of every possible thing that we could do to help businesses and to help visitors make it easy, on them. I mean, I think we can go, if we really want to, we could look at the 10% contingency being done by Memorial Day. And, you're talking about a $750,000, $800,000 line item that comes from parking revenue, that comes from all of these different things that we say, hey, this is for us to only be closed 5 months a year, or 5 months on this project versus 10 months on this project. That comes at a significant cost to the city. Making all parking free in and around Palafox is the absolute right thing to do during this inconvenience, because we want to facilitate more growth during that time temporarily, but that comes at a major cost to the city as well. So we are absolutely invested. There is not a scenario where only the downtown business owner is feeling any type of inconvenience or pain. We as a city, as taxpayers, are certainly putting our money where our mouth is in terms of putting up incentives to go faster, putting up lost parking revenues to make it easier on those businesses. So every single construction project we do will have inconvenience, period. I think it's our job and DIB's job to help mitigate that as much as we can and have this project happen as quickly as we can. So I do feel confident in that sense.
And then on the new Palafox, have you decided whether it'll be done in pieces or all at once yet, or is that?
Yeah, again, I think when you look at the bids and you look at our budget right now, you know, there's some common sense that would tell us that we don't really have a budget for lots of the alternates at this point. But again, I want to allow, you know, that could change if the engineer of record has an issue with one bid versus the other. You know, so that process is still playing out. So I couldn't confirm to you for sure what we're going to do until we know what we've got. But I think if you look at it big picture, we've got a certain amount of money. The base bid and alternates are all above that. So I would say probably common sense. We're going to probably look first at just handling what's in the base bid first. But again, more to come. I'll be able to answer that more clearly for you next week.
Mayor, I know there's rules about what you can't say about procurement at this point, but I guess can you give us a range of how far over the budget they are?
Probably not. But I mean, what I can tell you is we have allocated about $9 million is what we think we've got now. That's what I can tell you. So, you know, at this point in the middle of a procurement happening with active bids, you'll have to get your calculator out, you know, because I can't tell you, because we don't know if the bid's wrong or something like that, then that exact dollar amount that you're requesting, very fair question, could change tomorrow or it could change Thursday. So that's the only, I'm not being hesitant to answer that for you, but what I tell you is you can do one side of the math equation and I'll give you the other, which is we have earmarked coming into this process so far about $9 million is what we were looking at. So anything above and beyond that with contingencies, with bonuses, with everything like that will be money that we would have to find.
And then will this, I guess, just as it stands now, how optimistic are you? I think you were hoping that this project would get under construction next year. How optimistic are you that would happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think assuming whatever delta that is gets fulfilled, I would think we'd be, to me, it's absolutely paramount that this starts the first week of January. And that's the reason we're on tight timelines with procurement, with the engineer of record, how long we're giving them to look at this. All of those things, we are to be able to meet, and why we're doing that, if you recall, is I know personally from experience, January and February are gonna be your slower, if you're gonna pick 2 months out of the year, that's probably the most agreed upon 2 months of the year that for a Palafox business or a downtown business is gonna be a slower month than something in the summer or something in the holiday season, for example. So that's why we think that's so important. Going back to the earlier question, yet again, something that we're trying to concede is to say, hey, we're willing to be as aggressive as possible and drop all these other things that we're doing to be able to meet this timeline for no other reason than it causes the least inconvenience to the downtown businesses. It doesn't really affect the citizen one way or the other, or as much, except when they walk on the sidewalk. It doesn't really affect the city. The goal of starting as close to January as possible is absolutely focused on our small business owners downtown and saying, let's try to pick the months of the year that are the least impactful to you. And so we're still committed to that. And at this point, again, we got lots more to go, but at this point, our intent is to start the first week of January.
Mayor, on that $9 million, that's roughly what, $3 million from Florida Power and Light, and then where's the rest of the money?
Yeah, there's obviously, you recall, there's 2017, 2019 bond money within the CRA, which is, supposed to be spent around 2017 and 2019. So that have been earmarked for other parts of the hashtag project. I know that, I won't have it all down to the dollar, but that's a significant chunk. Obviously, there's gonna be parking revenue that will be going in as well. And we obviously will get you, especially next week, we can get you kind of that proposed stack and what that looks like. There's, it's gonna be some combination of the FPL money plus CRA money, I would say, to answer your question, is probably the brunt of that number.
So let me back you up again. So it's Florida Power and Light, and then some of the bond money that was intended for hashtag.
Correct.
And then possibly parking money.
That's my favorite correction in council is Palafox is hashtag. So people forget hashtags quite literally. How Mayor Robinson lined up hashtag was doing Maine first. If in my opinion, and what I remind the small business owners, that is, if we walked away from this project right now, there's still a construction project that will happen on Palafox. It's the $3 million from FPL for us to repave the road. That doesn't, I mean, so this is not, do you want to close 5 months or 0 days? It's, do you want to close 5 months or do you want to close 3 months? And just merely repave the road exactly as is. So yes, it is hashtag, but in my opinion, Palafox is hashtag, and we're just being opportunistic about construction that already needs to take place.
But hash, just to be argumentative,
Yeah.
because that's what I am. But
Please.
hashtag was considered primarily east-west
Mhm.
to try to create a connection between the Bay Bridge all the way to at least Bruce Beach. Is that project, we've got the Bruce Beach component done, are we scrapping that and saying we're gonna focus on Palafox?
No, so there's two things. One, the hashtag is 2 streets east and west and 2 streets north and south. That creates a hashtag.
Right.
Jefferson and Palafox north and south, Main and Cedar east and west. Cedar becoming a primarily pedestrian road, that's what's been prescribed since 2018. So there's a couple things that have factored in. Number one, before I became mayor, the costs of doing Main Street in the original way were significant. And it was because of the uncertainty of the historic buildings and having to dig multiple feet in concrete right next to the museum of the old jail, for example.
So you did the
And-
tunnels.
Yeah, right, exactly,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. And it could be the tunnel issue, but, yeah, so it was astronomically higher than people thought it was gonna be. Then what's happened is we've also gotten design money for the Sun Trail. That is an impact east and west. And so we wanna have those, try to true those up. So yes, we have a design for redoing Main. We have a design, or we've started towards a design for Cedar. You also have a hotel going in there. So with Sun Trail, with hotel development, there's other things happening east and west right now that could throw a wrench in that. And in, you know, bird in the hand, the way I see it is, we have a pending construction project, no matter what,
Right.
on Palafox Street. And it is our iconic downtown street. It is what 70% of our county residents believe downtown is the economic engine of our city. And so, to me, I think it makes more practical sense to go make an additional investment in a project that will already need to be constructed for multiple millions of dollars, not just select arbitrarily an east-west road versus a north-south. There's nothing in the skate plan back 8 years ago. There's nothing in the skate plan that says you must do Main first, you must do Cedar first. The only reason we talk about it that way is because the previous administration had proposed that. So, nothing wrong with that, I just mean, but I had, you know, and I've talked with council members about that, they said, well, you're taking away from hashtag. I'm like, well, this is hashtag, it's just, we might be prioritizing the roads differently. So, that's what we're looking at, and, but again, you know, I'll be able to speak financially, budget-wise, budget delta, all that stuff. You know, next week, I'll be able to probably speak a little more clearly to you on what our road is in front of us. And I told you, Rick, I mean, if we got here and it was 14 million, you know, versus 9, we probably would pivot and be going back and doing something different. And so, our hope is that after this process plays out, that it stays close enough to us that we can get it done.
Mayor, the Westside CRA recently completed a needs assessment to expand their boundaries. The expansion looks like it's predominantly to the west, over to the industrial commercial parcels on the other side of Pace.
Mhm.
You've got one city neighborhood above that. Why are we expanding the CRAs, and is that the only one that's going through this expansion process?
First of all, no, we had hired a consultant to look at all of our CRAs, as CRAs do every so often, every certain number of years, to say, hey, is this still fit? I mean, let's use an example. Is what science is behind the geographical boundaries of the East Side CRA? I mean, it's just a random swath. You know, the neighborhood 2 blocks to the west and 2 blocks to the east and 2 blocks to the north and south of the East Side CRA are no different than what's in the East Side CRA. So that's why you look at those things, to say, well, what does need redevelopment? You know, obviously, I think the west side of town does need redevelopment, and the idea that we could compound dollars and have additional tax revenues that must be reinvested in that area, shows a commitment to taking, taking on these big projects in and around the Westside CRA especially right now, and ensuring that those folks' tax dollars are going to be invested in their particular areas, be it infrastructure, economic development, whatever the case may be. So I think we should always be looking at what the CRA boundaries are and making sure that it fits our short-term and long-term strategy of how we want to enrich the city.
Will these need state DOE approval, these expansions?
I'd have to get with Erica on what the protocol is. I know it doesn't need any type of local county approval. I do know that, but I'm not sure what the steps are. I know the reason you have a consultant come in is they go through this process and they know what the metrics are, for you to say this qualifies or this doesn't qualify. This area, you can't expand this way and you can expand this way based on what those metrics are. So the actual logistical process, we can get you some more information on that. I'd hate to
Those
misquote.
properties, parcels over there west of Pace within the city limits, what do you think, what is the future? I mean, what's the city thinking about? Just collecting more TIF revenue? Is that the idea? Is it?
You mean expanding the CRA or
Yeah,
you're talking about just
expanding the CRA, Pensacola Shipyard, all down through there.
Well, one example I think of is half of our Baptist project is in the CRA and half isn't. That's anything north of, I think, of Avery.
Mhm.
So here we are, we're doing a massive redevelopment, one of the biggest the city's ever done, and I guess the south half is in need and the north isn't. So in my mind, it's not about just collecting revenue, it's modernizing. If I'm a resident right across the street from CRA and I'm a city resident, I would probably rather have my tax dollars have to be invested in the surrounding neighborhood. If you were to go ask everybody that, I think it's a good thing. Obviously, and remember, that's not just all good for us. Yes, it takes some of the county revenue, but that also means that any of the city tax revenue is not in the general fund anymore, and now it is allocated. So it's not just, hey, put something in the CRA and you increase revenues. Yes, you do, but you actually decrease your own general fund because those 4.2 mils that were going in for those folks that did not live in a CRA, that those 4.2 mils were going in the general fund. Now they have to be reallocated in the CRA. So it's not as simple as just, hey, let's go expand it and go collect more tax revenue. You want to have a good plan. What you don't want is to have a bunch of money necessarily in one CRA and then not have enough money in the general fund to serve the rest of the community. So it's a balance that you have to look at, and that's why we bring folks on to look at it.
On the subject of Baptist, I guess leaving your last presser last week,
Mhm.
we saw Commissioner Kohler and a representative from AC, the company that runs West
HCA,
Florida
yeah.
Waste,
Mhm.
en route to your office to talk
Mhm.
about Baptist things. Is this part of, you and Commissioner Kohler have come together now? Is this, not that you weren't far apart before, but this is about the health services vision portion of the redevelopment?
Yeah, well, first of all, ever since the property, we had those additional properties, we've gotten calls from several different folks. So as is our job, we're going to field any call or request or what are you going to do with this building or that building. We haven't made any decisions, but we have $1.5 million delta to deal with there, and so what we've shared with everybody who's called, including HCA, Community Health, is to say what we have decisions to make as it factors to, one is revenue, how do we close the delta? One is community good, how do we help the community good? Forget revenue. What good can happen in the surrounding neighborhood? And it's just a balancing act of those three things. And it doesn't mean that we have to donate all three properties or sell all three properties. It could be a combination. And so I think we're just gathering facts right now. And listen, as it pertains, Commissioner Kohler called, and I take a meeting with, that's what we're supposed to be doing, just having short memories. And, I'm sure I've been annoyed with him and he's been annoyed with me. But I think ego in this business guarantees you're not serving the citizen. So, in my mind, you know, if somebody has something that they want to say that could be for the betterment of the city of Pensacola, you know, it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be allowing, you know, annoyances previously to get in the way of that. So, and I've said that throughout the process. You know, Commissioner Kohler wants to call me about anything, or any commissioner, any elected official, then it should be my job to not say, well, you said this thing one time. I think it's, you know, we move on and, you know, try to do the best we can for the city of Pensacola.
Have you, the city promised a certain building over there for the health component?
No, we haven't promised anybody anything. There's been conversations about a community center at the larger, that 10,000 square foot building. I don't have the exact addresses. There's been conversations about healthcare at that adjacent building. So we are not obligated to do anything yet. Again, I think we're just kind of feeling out, and we meet with HCA, I'm meeting with Chamber Smiley, and then when the dust settles and we kind of understand what everybody wants to do, you know, I think there's a very real scenario where there's kind of harmony where we can do a little bit of everything and make that happen as well. As of right now, on the community center side, that is stalled, and I've shared that with Commissioner May and Commissioner Kohler, that as it sits today, the only performance metric is that it would be done within 5 years, and that's too long. I'm not,
And the Fricker
you know.
Center is not that far away.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about the same demographic over there.
But listen, if the county wanted to own and operate a facility down the street that's closer to their county line, you know, I wouldn't get in the way of that. But, you know, I would say that Commissioner May agrees and Commissioner Kohler agrees that 5 years, I mean, the whole idea of doing a community center was to bring something quickly to the neighborhood while we waited on a longer term thing, which I can reasonably get behind that, but not a 5-year performance. At that point, what I would tell you is I'm more interested in what those healthcare opportunities are at the moment in front of us, whatever those are first. And if that changes somehow, if we say, all right, well, we'll go under construction in 12 months, or, you know, if those performance metrics get a little tighter, you know, at this point, I'd still entertain it. I'm a little concerned about, you know, saying, hey, we're gonna bring something quick to the neighborhood, but it'd be 5 years. And that isn't prescribed by Commissioner May or Kohler. I think that's just been the conversation among staff, and that's just not where it needs to be for us to entertain it.
And following up on John's previous question about the CRA expansion, and this is a kind of a real in the weeds question, I was just curious. The TIFF takes in property tax revenue based on property value growth since it was founded, if I believe I have that right. So if you expand it into an area, would it just be for that new area from that point forward, or like for the west side, would it go back to 2007, the gross is 2007?
No, my understanding is once it's designated within a CRA, it's the value at that moment in time. It's the increase of value at that moment in time that it was designated in the CRA. So I don't think.
It would be retroactive.
Correct. That's my understanding, and I don't claim to be, you know, I don't want somebody screaming at their TV that knows all the CRA language, but I'm 99% sure that the clock starts when it enters a CRA, which again, that makes logical sense that it would do that, because, you know, it would kind of be unfair to say, oh, okay, well, we're going to go revert back. I believe it would be whatever has increased, the revenues that have increased since the moment it went in. But, you know, I still have a small asterisk next to that in case I have that wrong. But I think for the conversations I've had, it's been under the assumption that it would be at zero if the new areas went in, and then everything, all the value that would increase from there.
One question from the newsroom, is there an update on the Grand Hotel situation?
Yeah, we did notify the interested developers. We had our outside, you know, CRA has a firm that we have that analyzes deals for us, you know, so we don't try to attempt to do that in-house, you know, with folks that again, do this for a living and can say, hey, this deal makes sense for the city or doesn't, or somewhere in between. And I would generally say that the deal proposed to us at this point doesn't really pencil for the city. It's a pretty significant lift. You know, more than the lion's share of funding coming from the city. Wasn't really the type of level of help that we were prescribing. We're kind of the secondary help, not the primary. And so again, we haven't ruled anything out, it's not a procurement, it's not our building. So nothing stops this group or any other group from coming and saying, hey, we've sharpened our pencil, or we're gonna look at it a different way. So I guess my answer is really no movement at this point, because we haven't seen something yet that we can participate in, that I can defend to the taxpayer. So, but we'll continue to monitor, and again, if they come back with something, we'll always have open ears and open minds about how we can help.
You're one of the, just observation and a question, one of the measures of progress, I think, at Pensacola Airport in your term has been the whole TSA piece.
Yes.
It's gotten much better.
Yes.
I don't think anybody would argue about that.
Yeah.
But nothing's free. So has the city, have they gotten any videos or audio tapes from Department of Homeland Security, from the Secretary, explaining the showdown and the lack of appropriations? That several cities out west have rejected that request to play this audio tape. We're sorry, allegedly it's an explanation of why there may be flight delays, lack of appropriations. They claim it's pretty political, and so they've chosen not to, has the city gotten something like that?
Have we received that?
We have, and so far we are not showing the video either.
Yeah.
We have advertising commitments on all of our screens for paid advertising that have to be honored.
So give you an example. It's
The
first
Secretary
I've
knows
been aware of that.
Your
but-
message on there.
Yeah, they're trying to bump my message off, is that what they're saying? Yeah, it's gonna be expensive.
But it would probably look
Yeah.
better.
But, yeah, well, which one, mine or theirs, yeah.
Eye of the beholder.
Yeah, so, obviously that hasn't gotten to my desk of any
It just came up
decision
in
to
the
make.
last 48 hours or so.
Yeah. So, we'll entertain that. What I was gonna say is, I don't know, John, but we'll find out during the ribbon cutting tomorrow, maybe. We'll see, we'll hear if it's going on. Again, nothing I've entertained yet, or a decision that I made, or there's no decision point that's gotten to me on that. But, I guess I'll get with our team, and if there's, see what decisions there are to make, if any.
Any updates on the hangar up there at the ST, the new hangar?
I don't have an exact timeline, other than everything continues to move as scheduled, so that's good. I know we aren't under any substantive delays or anything like that, all of that work, continues to move quickly. Did have a good meeting with ST, obviously the conversation about moving everybody over, getting some of the management, some of the positions that were in Mobile, moving over, that you guys, I'm sure, reported a few months ago. That continues to take place. We're working with ST on, and their local PR folks on what we asked for way back when, which was to have some clarity for our citizens about how this could be a path for them, how they can go make $90,000 or $100,000 a year, and that there was always a lot of talk about jobs, but it wasn't real clear. Okay, well, if I'm a high school student or a high school graduate or a high school dropout, what path can I take to have good quality of life and good quality job at ST? And so that's something they've been working on. I know they're close to rolling that out, and they continue to meet again, when we had the issues previously, we met with them. Everything from local HR on the ground to local PR to all of those different things that we discussed. We haven't run into any issue to that point. And again, I think that's some of the stuff that we shared with you, Sam.
Mayor, based on the protests last Thursday at the council meeting, do you foresee any changes in city policy about drag shows, sacred theater?
No. I think, at the end of the day, what we're talking about isn't whether someone's religious beliefs decide that something is good or not good. That's not positions that we're in. I believe the positions we're in is to uphold the law. So as you heard from the Sanger, I think, it's their decisions of what's get booked, and that's per its contract. And so, and listen, I think, someone may look at the other night as a negative thing and saying, hey, here's our, different sectors of our community at odds. I think that's why we have public forum. I think it is for people to be able to share their ideas. I hold no disdain or concern about any of the pastors we heard from and them sharing their feelings about that. I think that's why we have public forum. And the folks that showed up and said, if you don't want to go, don't buy a ticket, or and ever the other side of that coin, we have public forum. So at the end of the day, we do have a constitution that we follow, both a Florida and a U.S. Constitution that we follow. So again, I certainly understand and respect the debate about this. I've talked to many people in the community about it, but at this point, we're going to continue to follow the Constitution and the advice of our city attorney, and we'll continue here to the discussion moving forward.
Mayor, on the Veterans Park bathroom, the RFPs for design build contract, I guess, is there any, preliminary design or what it will look like, since that's going to be
Yeah, the reason we went that direction, and we'll probably start doing that more and more, think about the Roger Scott pool bathrooms as an example, is that not only the time that it takes to break that out, that a project of that size, not a $10 million project or a $100 million terminal, but a very small project, when you break that out, you end up with additional delays and additional costs. And then you design something with a budget, and then and then now it can never be done. And that's kind of, in my opinion, what we've run into at Roger Scott, is to say, something got designed way back when, and then we're trying to value engineer it the best way we can, but at the end of the day, it's still $1 million bathroom, and we don't have $1 million for it. How do you solve the issue? And so in these smaller scale projects, it makes more sense to us to say, here's our budget. We've got $650,000 left. Tell us what you can do with $650,000 versus pre-prescribing, that make sure that there's this many seats in the classroom, or that there's this many square foot in the storage area. That's, in my mind, we like the idea. It gives us a little more flexibility on these smaller scale projects, to be able to handle them and get them in and done under budget, not be stuck with a set of plans and not have the ability to fund it. In the larger scale projects, clearly it's much more difficult in situations like the terminal, like Palafox. There's going to be so much specificity about what you want to take place there that it's going to be kind of hard to bid that as a design build. So, I kind of like that idea of these smaller scale projects, just to make them less expensive for the taxpayer and get them done faster, with some type of budget in mind. And so that's the reason we went there. Is, how long has this VMP bathroom thing been talked about? Before me, one of y'all would have to tell me. As I believe Mr. Dosev came to a council meeting and complained about how quick it was and or slow it's been. Said, well, all we've done since I've been here is go get funding for it, and we're now under contract. So the 10 years before that and all the controversy and debate, you'll have to go talk to those people. But we've moved this thing as quickly as we can, and it hasn't been quick. But to your question, I think that's what the design build format kind of allows, is to say, here's the money we got, tell us what we can do, versus setting ourselves up for failure and being able to design something that can't otherwise get funded.
Mayor, sometime back you said that you were going to offer the foundation, the Park Foundation, an opportunity to become the steward of Admiral Basin as well. Have you made that offer?
I'll have to get you an update. I know that we were in conversations about that, and that we're open to that. It was just whether that's been brought to finality or not. I'll have to. And the conversations were around really the maintenance and the those types of things. I think VMP does a great job of maintaining their space. I think when you go there, they do a good job of taking care of it, taking pride in that, and so that was conversations that we're going to have. Let me circle back with you on exactly where they stand, or Amy can circle with you on where they stand. But at a minimum, I know that we were having productive conversations going that direction.
And was part of that a way to move the bathroom building further over to the west?
No,
there
it
because of
wasn't.
topography there?
No, what it was about moving the bathroom was just more logistics of the bathroom itself. Those are two completely independent decisions. It wasn't, we need to do that because of that. We moved the bathrooms to make it price manageable, closer to infrastructure, and the soil was also an issue in certain places, including in the place that I was going, and that we're going to add some additional expenses. So, but yeah, those are not two married things. Those were completely independent conversations. But again, they both continue to move forward. Anything else?
Have you decided about filing yet?
I thought about this morning if I get asked, and I said, well, if I get asked, I'll say I'm strongly considering it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, is that?
Will there be a drag show?
Yeah. Not gonna answer. Yeah. Any other controversial topics you want to cover before we get into it? All right. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.